You're listening to the Walking Dead Enthusiasts Podcast. Your hosts, Sebastian Kubanucci.
I thought I had to take a really big dump after eating tacos, and I got up, and there was a baby in my toilet.
Dennis Patrick.
I wouldn't miss my family in the zombie apocalypse, but I would be concerned about the future of Taco Bell.
And Ryan Smith.
You can put ketchup on your skitty all you want, but you can't date no child molestator.
Welcome to the Walking Dead Enthusiasts Podcast by Fan of Pound. I'm Sebastian.
I'm John.
And I'm Dennis.
Today we're talking about episode 907 of The Walking Dead entitled Stradivarius. Not to be confused with a Harry Potter.
No. Not
a hair. What do they call it? A spell. That thing. I don't know why the word spell escaped me. I knew I shouldn't have made the Harry Potter joke. It was probably a curse from all Harry Potter fans, right?
Just you got Stradivarius out, but then spell just eluded you.
I got the difficult word out. How's it going, y'all?
I'm good. I'm solid. Dennis, how you feeling, man?
I'm ready for Thanksgiving.
Fair.
Me too. Eat up all the turkeys. You guys have any big plans?
No? Yes? I don't know. I just go where I'm told.
The in-laws, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the soon-to-be in-laws, not
Right.
technically
Let's not jump the gun. Anything can happen, Seb.
Yeah, you still have time to escape. Dennis, any big plans for you?
You know, it's a whole big family gathering every Thanksgiving, so I'm excited. I'm stoked.
Nice. Is that at your parents'?
Yeah. What about you, Seb?
Hosting the in-laws this year, so that should be fun. I got it's only 4 of us, me, Courtney, and her parents, so I literally got the most rinky-dink baby turkey on the planet. It's such an embarrassment, but whatever. I don't need to go through the whole hassle of cooking a giant-ass turkey. Because I did that last year, and then it came out raw, and it was just not good. I don't think my oven got to temperature last year, so I think just my timings were completely off. It was a nightmare. Never again.
No.
Except this year.
Never forget. Hashtag.
And you know what's fun? I ordered my turkey on the internet.
How do you do that?
Well, because Amazon now owns Whole Foods, I literally ordered my turkey on Amazon, and then I picked it up. So I got a free range organic whatever the hell from Whole Foods.
Child murder baby turkey.
And I got it for 50% off. I think it was $4.99 for non-Prime members and $2.99 a pound for Prime members. So
should have got that thing.
I guess
live.
I got a deal. Yeah. They just hand you a box of turkey.
Yeah, prepare for your Survivor debut.
I cook my turkey live on Thanksgiving. Yeah, no, I don't know how well that would go over. I can't. Poor little animals. And this episode had a dog, and I know the dog's gonna die. It's just gonna be a whole damn mess.
Cut to footage of Sebastian weeping,
rocking back and forth. Whatever. So. John, what did you think of tonight's episode?
Kang, I gotta tell you, Angie, Angelo. I feel like we can call you Ange at this point. I hope you're not tricking me. I hope we're not gonna get to the mid-season finale and you just pulled a bullshit carpet out from under me, I was Gimple the whole time. Ah! I don't know, but not a lot happens in this episode, but it's still it's an entertaining little hour of television.
All right, so just a few updates here before we jump into this week's recap of episode 7, Stradivarius of The Walking Dead. I want to make you aware of a couple things that have been going on, and then also things that are coming up in the future. So last week I had the honor of joining the Sister Speak podcast to talk about episode 6 of The Walking Dead, Who Are You Now? That was a very long 3-hour podcast recapping that episode, full of lots of laughs. Once that's posted, I will be posting that on our website, fandomfound.com, and also on our Facebook page, facebook.com/fandomfound. So be sure to check that out. Might be a great podcast if you're traveling for the Thanksgiving holiday and you have a long commute. 3 hours, probably fill that time pretty nicely talking about The Walking Dead there. Also, we're going to be releasing a holiday special episode. So this is going to be a Q&A style Christmas related podcast. We're launching a brand new feed, which is going to be more of a general interest podcast. So it won't be specific to any particular television show, but we might talk about one season of a show at a high level. We might do these Q&A style shows. So we thought it would be fun to kind of start off with a Christmas-related Q&A podcast. So we're asking that you guys submit some Christmas-related questions to us by going to fandomfound.com/xmas, which is just XMAS, and that'll take you right to a Google form, and you can just type in your question, your name, and hit submit, and that'll come right to us, and then we'll use that on the podcast to record. So that'll be a lot of fun. So look out for that in December. And then lastly, we are looking to build out our iTunes ratings. We want to thank Johnny and Roxanne for leaving awesome reviews on Apple Podcasts for our podcast. We really appreciate that. And if you're interested in leaving a review on iTunes, we would definitely appreciate it for The Walking Dead. It helps us get discovered by other listeners, helps us moving up in the rankings when people search for The Walking Dead on iTunes or other podcast players. So we would appreciate that very much. And if you like the podcast, definitely don't forget to subscribe for free. If you're a first-time listener coming from, say, Sista Speak, welcome, number one. And number two, if you like the podcast and want to continue to listen and subscribe, you can do so by going to fandomfound.com/subscribe. Okay, back to the regular program.
I didn't like it that much. It just felt like an hour of traveling. But again, This whole season was good, so if I have to deal with 1 hour of this whole season just being kind of meh, I'll take it.
I mean, to use like a Thanksgiving like metaphor, they're like really setting the table here. I don't even know if that was a metaphor, but for the introduction of the Whispers, I think it was super good. Was it a metaphor, John?
It was not.
Damn it. What was it?
It's technically, I believe, a simile.
A simile, damn. All right, well, I was close. So they were really setting the table, I think, for the introduction of the Whisperers. So if next week, our next episode is the Thanksgiving meal, I think we're really set here. Like you said, John, Angela Kang. I've just continued to be impressed by like what she's doing with this season so far. I personally thought this was, on my first watch, I thought it was like meh. It was like a little slow, like I said, kind of setting the table. But then on my second rewatch, I was like, nah, this was actually a pretty good episode. I found it really entertaining, and I'm like so fucking hyped for the Whisperers to actually be introduced. I think they're gonna be so cool. They're gonna look cool. My butthole clenches every time I see that preview for next week, and Jesus is like doing that fucking bounce a roundhouse kick off the fucking walker. I'm like, oh my god, this is so awesome, and I don't even know who I am anymore. I feel like I don't even know who I am. Because last season I was ready to rage quit the show and tell it to go fuck itself sideways, and now here I am, like a gleeful schoolgirl watching this show every week. I'm very pleased indeed. No complaints.
It's a little scary again, right? Just not like scary to like be enjoying this, even though that might be a little fear-inducing.
Maybe.
But there's a sense of, exactly. It's the exact opposite of the Negan arrival. Like we were, it was like a whoopee cushion Negan's arrival. This is like, oh shit. Yeah. These guys are in like legitimate danger, and you can feel it sort of in the fringes, kind of starting to like nip at their heels a bit. It's sort of like harassing them here and there. Like even the way that the scene, the cold open for this, hat tip to Michael Cudlitz, our return director.
Return?
Well, he came back. He's a cast member. He returns as a director this time. Really communicates the what that would feel like. Rosita running for her life, head injury, and she's hearing all of this around her. Like, heebie-jeebie stuff, man.
Yeah, no, I really liked it. It was very Blair Witch reminiscent, which is what it reminded me of. And then on Talking Dead, Michael Cudlitz said that was kind of the vibe he was going for with that intro there with Rosita. And then even just with the whole being watched thing at the closer to the end of the episode where Connie's looking into the woods and she feels like she sees something, but maybe she doesn't. And she's like, never mind. It's nothing. That shit is all creepy. Throughout this season, I've been thinking all these people who are riding these horse-drawn carriages or whatever through the woods or whatever and down these paths where they're completely surrounded by trees. All of that just makes me feel super uneasy. I constantly feel like at any time they could be attacked by anything. And I don't know, it's almost claustrophobic the way that they're filming it. And I think that's been, I don't know if it's intentional or if it's not, but I feel like it's done a lot in terms of just generally making me feel nervous for the characters again. And now that Rick is dead, and now that Carl's dead, now that Maggie's gone, you really do kind of get the vibe now that anyone can die. There's no safe character at this point except maybe Daryl. Daryl is probably always safe.
Daryl and Carol just signed a big, Melissa McBride, Norman Reedus just signed big ass deals to keep keeping on. So I imagine they're not going anywhere. But
do you know that for a fact, or you're speculating?
I know I do know that for a fact.
For how many more seasons?
The contract details not disclosed, but we know the amounts that they signed for.
Monetary?
Yes.
How much?
Norman is in the 50 million. Is in the 50 million neighborhood. Melissa McBride is in the 20 million neighborhood. Who's
reporting that?
I believe that's a combination of IMDb, Entertainment Weekly, and one other.
Is that seasonal?
I think that's the whole value of the contract signed.
Oh, gotcha. So it could be multiple years.
Right. It could be multiple seasons.
Wow, that's impressive for AMC standards. That sounds like a lot of money.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of money for me. 50 million? Oh, well, hold out for 70. No, you take it. Take the money.
Little do you know, they have to be in 5 origin movies for that money. But
you made an interesting point with Rick gone, with Maggie gone. We were, and I was too, really afraid what was going to happen to the show, what was going to happen to the ratings, what was going to happen to viewership in general when these larger than life, these season 1, season 2 characters are gone. And really what it's done for the show, and I think Kang has very wisely leaned into it, is to say, 1, to your point, no one's safe, but 2, no one is saving you either. This isn't a Rick Grimes ride in, out of a clear blue sky, come to save the day. It's not everything's going to be okay. You can't say it'll be all right, Rick will handle it, or it'll be all right, Maggie will handle it. They're not here.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I was thinking, even with the whole Daryl storyline, I was so glad that they reintegrated him into the story in this episode, because it was they do some tropey bullshit where Daryl is on his own, he refuses to come back, and then all the characters are in trouble, and Daryl rides in and saves the day, which they've done before, I think in maybe season 3 or 4, when they were at the prison. I'm just please don't do this again. And thankfully they didn't.
No, and I think they had a really a smart, really psychological character building explanation for it. He was out there to begin with as a search party looking, because they never found a body. They don't find Rick's body, and over time he used that as an excuse to isolate, and he just never came in. I get that. That makes total sense to me.
Me too. And I'm just so thankful that we didn't have to watch more than one single episode of it.
Right? They seem to be a little more, what's the word I'm looking for here, aware?
Yeah, look at that. Who knew? There's a concept. So, Dennis, I already see you wrote in my notes there. Is there something wrong with the sound on this show?
Yeah.
It's glitching out like
Is
all
it
the
for
time.
you? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I was trying to text people during the whole show, and like some people said sounds completely fine, but for the past few episodes it's like a little bit of a glitch.
Yeah, I feel like I started to notice it in maybe the first one or two. I feel like it's almost been like all season. John, is that happening to you?
Wrong how? Because I've noticed like little things like maybe the audio track is off a bit. I've
It,
noticed
like,
that, but no.
I don't know. Dennis, how would you describe it?
It's almost like the sound's too loud and it has like a little small burst, but it's not loud.
It's like
yeah, yes.
kind of like stuff like that. Like if Daryl like yells dog, it'll be like dog. Yeah, I don't understand. Something is definitely going on with the sound. I don't know. It's definitely post-production issue too. It's not like.
Thank you. I was losing my mind for the past couple of weeks watching the show.
It was really noticeable in this last episode. I mean, I've noticed it over the last couple, but this seemed like it was so consistent throughout this entire episode. I'm not entirely sure what the hell is going on. And I thought, like, for a second, I was like, oh, maybe it's my TV. My TV is like glitching out or something like that, but it's literally only when I watch this show.
Wait, Seb, who do you go by? Cable provider.
Comcast.
Okay, same with me, John. Who do you go by? Is it maybe
Same.
just? Oh, okay.
No, same, yeah.
Thought maybe
I've
it's
noticed a couple
Comcast.
other people like saying some stuff online about the sound, so I don't know. It's gotta, maybe John's just not noticing it, and then now you will not ever notice it. Or you will not notice it the next time you watch another episode. You'll be like, God damn it, motherfuckers.
Show ruined.
Show ruined. Yeah.
Is anybody on AMC Premiere? Is anybody streaming it?
Fuck no.
All right. Just, hey man, just maybe you can scrape the $5 together for the AMC Premiere. I don't know.
No, I'm good. I'll just wait 15. I already pay $10 for DVR, so I'll just wait 15 minutes.
Oh god.
So I can fast forward through the commercials on all the shows I watch, rather than just AMC Premiere. But yeah, no, I'm gonna keep my $5, and AMC is not gonna get that. So they can suck it. So couple of things here. What do I want to say? Oh, really, another reason I know that I've like thoroughly been enjoying this season is because usually, at least for the last 2 seasons, when I like wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, today is podcast day, great, can't wait to talk about this shitty episode. Like Courtney literally tonight was like, oh, how's this season going so far? And I was like, really good. And I was shocked to remember that we only have 1 episode left of this season, and I don't feel burnt out at all. Usually I feel super burnt out. I'm like, oh, this is so tedious talking about this stupid show. I hate it so much. And well, here I am, like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, episode 7. So you know things are good if I'm ready to go every day. Get excited. All right, so maybe we should jump into some of the details here. John, I thought it was kind of hilarious watching this episode, knowing what it was named. And last week we were talking like, Stradivarius, what could it mean? I mean, we knew it was about the violin or whatever, right, but we did not take remotely the literal interpretation that there would be a Stradivarius violin in the episode.
There's no way somebody could just be hanging around, like holding on to one of these. There's like a handful of them. No, okay, fine, he's got one.
He found it in a mansion in Philadelphia, man.
Sure, that tracks. I'm sure we've got a ton of shit no one uses and can only look at.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of funny in the context of it all, like not putting 2 and 2 together, like Stradivarius, oh, violin, oh, there's a music teacher, oh, why didn't we think of that at all? So I thought it was, I don't know how like super important it was to the episode. I don't know if it was episode name or the
I mean, it's not even really about the violin. It's not even about Dan Fogler's character. I think it's even more of a metaphor for Michonne's distrust than anything, because like she took this priceless thing, assumed it was a weapon, and cut that shit in half.
Yeah,
and it's never coming back. Poof, gone.
But I mean, it really means nothing at the end of the day.
No, it doesn't mean a goddamn thing.
completely useless in this world.
Well,
anyway.
but I think that's the point. Is Michonne assumes like music? Like, come on, you fucking idiot! Like, what are you doing? It has no use.
Yeah.
I guess. But there has to be a transition in that mode of thinking. All those things can't continue to be useless because they're the trappings of civilized society. They're a society that is stable and growing as opposed to just simply surviving.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of musical undertones throughout this entire episode, even like down to Tara talking to Jesus about the kid playing the kazoo, and Sadiq's finding the recorder and playing the well, Michonne didn't actually let him play the recorder, but kind of like those underpinnings of, and definitely trying to break down Michonne's kind of icy wall that she has up in terms of all this drama that apparently occurred over the last 6 years that we haven't been privy to yet. We'll hopefully see in the future, but trying to better understand why Michonne is being the way that she is. I thought was kind of an interesting use of the violin and other musical elements in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I would make the case Michonne is functioning more at a level I don't think we've seen her at, but at the same time, dare I say, she might be a little more broken than I think we may have ever seen her to this point. At least, yeah, no, I think I'll stand by that. Yeah, I think she's just like, because normally in adverse times, there's the periods in the beginning seasons where she kind of goes back to the woods a little bit, like I need me 2 new walker, companion type things, and does that, and but now she just seems to be significantly more damaged, and perhaps that's because she has to keep going.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think it would be, I want to say like Michonne's attitude, if it maintains throughout the back half of this season, might get a little bit tedious from a viewing standpoint, right?
No, I 100% agree. Like some shit has to happen pretty quick because this is going to get one notey real fast.
But I feel like even like just with this episode alone and the story that Luke tells her, she seems super invested in that story, and she allows it to break down her wall a little bit. And she's like, after everything you've seen and everything you've done, you think that's all that it takes? And he's like, yes. And then you see she's about to say something, but then she kind of just like soaks it all in. She doesn't, have a rebuttal. She's just like, okay. And then it seems like by the end of this episode, she still has a bit of a wall up. She wasn't willing to fully go to the hilltop yet, even though she knew Maggie wasn't there at that point. But she at least didn't seem like super cold-hearted or completely anti-new people anymore. So, I don't know. I think just this episode we'll gradually see, hopefully, a Michonne moving out of whatever phase she is in currently, and going to a more open type of individual, more welcoming, whatever.
Just to ask you guys a quick question. You might even have it in this note here, Sub, but do you think Maggie's behind the whole Scar issue we got going on here?
I have no idea. I mean, you weren't on last week's episode, so what was your kind of theory about the Scar? I mean, we see Daryl has a scar too, so...
Yeah, I didn't think we would see or hear anything about it. I just thought it was something that happened in the past and we'll never find out. But knowing that Daryl also has that scar and how she's so upset against Maggie, I'm just kind of curious if there's a connection there.
Well, it's interesting because Daryl has 2 as opposed to Michonne's 1 that we've seen.
I wasn't sure, because I know Daryl has had scars in the past that we've seen as a result of his father abusing him, but I wasn't sure if... I know some of like the straight lines were a result of his father's abuse, but I wasn't sure if the X at the top of his shoulder blades was there previously or not. I'm sure it's on Reddit at this point, but
right.
What point were you going to make? Sorry, John.
No, I just Michonne has 1, Daryl has 2, so whatever you could draw the line of whatever Michonne got into, Daryl got into it a bit worse.
Maggie has 3.
Well, who's to say? But I mean, that would be interesting, Dennis, if because Michonne and Maggie clearly had some sort of falling out, where if Michonne, even sets foot in Hilltop with Maggie around, it is a big fucking problem.
Is this like going back to Maggie just blaming? Does Michonne blame Maggie possibly for Rick's death?
No, I don't think so. And by the end, I don't believe that Maggie and Rick were all that close. Right? They were on kind of opposite sides of an opinion.
Yeah, but they also seem to kind of be plotting against Rick a little bit,
right.
Especially at like the where Daryl ends up driving Rick off into the distance, not allowing him to get back when Maggie wanted to go and kill Negan, and then they end up in the pit, and that's how ultimately Rick ends up dying. Basically, is because Daryl kidnapped him, brought him all the way out there. And, he ends up getting thrown off the horse or whatever. So I could see maybe Daryl, he doesn't really allude to this at all in the episode, but maybe feeling some tinge of guilt, as Daryl usually does with this kind of stuff. Maybe part of the reason that he's out there searching for Rick's body now, because there is maybe a minor level of guilt. And I could see him almost like confessing to a Michonne and being like, look, this is kind of like what happened. And this is because Michonne, I'm sure, probably has a lot of questions, right? Like she just let Rick get blown up and not ask like, why was he out there? What was he doing? What the fuck was going on? And then it's like, if we turn out like this whole plan was orchestrated on behalf of Daryl and Maggie, where Maggie was going to go to Alexandria, kill Negan, and Daryl was kind of holding, quote, Rick prisoner or whatever. Maybe that just kind of starts a huge battle between the two of them.
Well, I do have
3 of them.
See, I do have some quotes here that are from comicbook.com that Michael Cudlitz gave, and he told, I guess, Insider. Said we're dealing with Michonne, where she has separated herself from the Hilltop group and sort of isolated herself with just Alexandria. We're not exactly sure why. We'll find out later, Cudlitz told Insider. A lot of it is tied to the X that we see on her back, that we just revealed on Michonne's back. Now we see it on Daryl's back. While the X might have to do with Michonne and Maggie's strained relationship, viewers only know the story also involves Daryl and an event which took place during the 6-year time jump. The audience is going to want to know what that's about, said Cudlitz. They're going to find out what that's about, but that is something that connects them all. Even though they're all separated right now, we're going to find out why.
All right, well, that answers that. What it doesn't answer is whether we're going to see that just through the storytelling in the current day, or whether we're going to get like a flashback episode.
Votes on which one? Yeah, which one do you want more?
I don't know. It depends, like, with the pacing of the back half. Like, obviously it's not going to be next week, but, depending on the pacing of the back half of next season, I don't want to feel like they're really making forward momentum on the Whisperer arc, and then, they hit the brakes and go, oh, well, let's go back to 3 years ago and show you what happened. But then you also think about it from the perspective that Lauren Cohan, from my understanding, was supposed to be in 6 episodes this season, and she was only in 5. So that would almost leave another episode for her to film a flashback episode, if that's what, the avenue that they wanted to go down. What would you guys prefer?
I would prefer a flashback scene. I want 10 minutes, cold open, and then let's move on.
Okay, Dennis.
I really don't care. They can do no wrong so far in this season, so either way.
Oh, you better bite your tongue, boy. Right. Is 10 minutes enough time to tell this whole dramatic story about why there's a huge falling out between the 3 groups, and Maggie decided to up and fucking leave, take her kid with her, and move away, and why these guys have all these scars? I feel like there's no way they could tell that in a 10-minute block.
I don't know. How long did it take to kill Glenn and set the entire arc off in a 180-degree direction?
Which time are we talking about? Dumpster Gate or?
Ooh, touche.
Who's to say it's sinister though? I mean, this could have been just like a pact between the guys.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that, like a blood brother pact. Like everyone's like, oh, the scar is in the same place that Rick's injury was with the rebar, and I'm like, not really. I feel like the rebar was right under his like rib, like right where his ribs end. The rebar went right through. This is like much more lower back.
Yeah, and if it's a blood brother pact, why did Daryl have to get 2?
Yeah, I don't agree with the blood brother.
Girls get 1, guys get 2.
It makes no sense, and it's like, why would they even do that? Like, they're like, people are like, so it's like a constant reminder of like what Rick wanted for the lives and for the communities. And I'm like, what? So they cut themselves in a place that they could literally never see? Like, it makes no sense.
There's a shortage of mirrors around here. I can't see my back.
Like, that's why I would never get a tattoo on my back, because it's like, I can't enjoy it. So, I don't know. I would get a tattoo where I could see it. So I don't think it's that. I really have no idea what it could possibly be. My only other thought is that there's a group, we kind of talked about this already last week, but there was a group that maybe Michonne let in, or Michonne didn't want to let in, and Maggie was like, no, we're going to, blah, blah, blah. And then, I don't know, they tried to take over, or try to steal their kidneys. Like, I don't fucking know. And then that caused a falling out between them. But...
Oh, didn't someone else do this? Gosh, what was their names? They did a W.
The Wolves?
The Wolves.
Did they carve that into their heads though?
Yes, they did.
Oh yeah.
They weren't using stickers up there.
What would the X represent? What animal starts with X? The xylophones. This is a merry band of xylophone players. Oh god, that would fit with the musical theme, right?
Silence, dead silence.
Thank you guys, thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good night. No. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be okay with a flashback episode. I think actually, assuming that the fair is going to happen, obviously, because it's a big storyline in the comic books, and that scene from the comic books during the fair will probably be the finale of this season. Maybe I could see it being a nice way to lead into Michonne finally allowing the fair to happen. So if we get a flashback episode of showing why there is the disconnect between the all groups, why Maggie decided to leave, and then that ultimately leads into Michonne's decision to say, okay, I'll let the fair happen, and we should really be focusing on bringing all the groups together. Maybe that would be a good tie-in. I don't know. That's what I'm going to go with, then.
It's plausible, I guess. I mean, that's the only way they can really introduce the Whispers, in my opinion.
Yeah, but then there's also all these articles that are posted that it's like, no, that was Lauren Cohen's last episode, so I don't fucking know. But those are all not like super reliable sources, not like Lauren Cohen herself saying, well, I'm not in any more episodes, so I don't really know what's going on here, but I don't know. Whatever. We kind of already talked about the Eugene or the Rosita scene, obviously without Eugene, but we know that he probably did not die. He got left behind in a barn. Ultimately, what did you guys think? John, what did you think of Michael Kudlitz's directorial debut here?
I hate, I don't want to say strong, weak, what have you. I think he avoided Walking Dead tropes. Mm-hmm. The like, this is a Walking Dead episode directed by blah, or blah. Why? Well, because they're doing the blah. I think it's pretty strong. Well, all in all, it was an entertaining bit of television. Echo a lot of the cast interviews that were Talking Dead later. Told a good story.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's only like one very obvious mistake that I noticed. When they arrive at the the caravan, Magnus caravan or whatever. They get off their horses or whatever, and Sadiq is standing by his horse, and then it cuts to the next scene and he's not standing by his horse, and it cuts to the next scene and he's back standing at the horse. So I thought that was kind of funny. And Michael Kozas was actually really interesting on The Talking Dead, talking about the process itself and how involved he actually is. Like, he's working with the editors, telling, they're filming whatever it is that he wants to be filmed. Then he works with the editors to actually like cut it together and make it all make sense. So I thought that was like nice little insight, because a lot of the times I feel like the editors go rogue and do like whatever the fuck they want. So I was glad to see that Michael had like more control from the editing standpoint as well.
Sure.
I don't know if maybe that's typical and I sound like an idiot, but
no, it depends on the director. Some have more, involvement with that process than others, and it really comes down to trust level with your editorial. Mm-hmm. The guys cutting it together. If you trust them and they're really clued into your vision, maybe you have a lighter touch with it. Or if they're not, and they're just the guys that are there, week in and week out, and you have something, a vision in your mind's eye that you're not really able to communicate to them, yeah, stick around. Make sure it gets the way you want it to be.
Yep. So let's talk about Daryl, Carol, and Henry. Really, this episode was kind of just sectioned off into 3 main stories, which is kind of nice, and it actually covered almost everyone. So you got Daryl, Carol, and Henry. You got, Michonne and Magnus group, and then you have like the whole Hilltop gang going on there. With Daryl, Carol, and Henry, I thought there was a lot of nice kind of nuanced things going on with Daryl living out in the woods. He obviously has this whole like hobo camp thing going on. I thought it was cool that if you notice that the house or the tent that he's sleeping in, it's actually like built into the like that water, into the river. Did you guys notice that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought that was super cool. Like, how smart is that from a defensive standpoint? Like, being able to sleep where there's only really one entrance to access him. So he really only needs to protect himself from the front. And then other than that, it's probably even a boat that like detaches and you can just like go down the river if you really want to.
Bah! Cut bait. Gone.
Just like lift up a lever and the boat just like floats away or whatever.
Dixon, out!
Yeah. So we're supposed to get the impression that Daryl has not been out there the entire 6 years, right?
It's ambiguous. I think he's been out there more often than not.
Yeah. Like flip-flopping. Like maybe in the beginning, maybe he was coming back out or coming home at night, and then closer to the end, he was just like, I'm just going to stay out here.
Yeah, because he does say it just got easier to stay out.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Carol has also been periodically visiting him throughout this, because she makes a reference like, you still haven't gotten the boat fixed or whatever since last time. So clearly this isn't the first time she's seen him in the last 6 years. Yeah. But it might have been since the last time she gave him a haircut.
Ow.
I think it might be also...
Go ahead, Dennis.
I think it might be also a result of whatever happened with those scars, because you made the comment about how it's much quieter where he's at now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's definitely possible for sure. I mean, yeah, there's just like way too many unknowns at this point. And I mean, like, when they say something so ambiguous like that, there's so many past situations that we could apply a comment to that as like quieter. Oh, Rick just died. Carl died. Like, Negan blew up Alexandria with grenades. Like, quieter can really span quite a few things we saw over the course of the last 8 seasons or so. So it's really hard to tell. There was like one kind of weird scene with Henry after Daryl gets his haircut, and we learn why Daryl's been out there, that he's looking for Rick's body. Henry randomly asks Daryl, they're eating, and Henry asks Daryl about his scar, but he's like, where'd you get the scar? And I was like, what scar? I don't know if that was like a mistake.
I don't think so. He was either, because, let me see if I can't piece that together, because if he saw Daryl change his shirt, then he would have seen the scars.
But the shirt changing was like after.
Right, so it could have been that. So the only other bit of that is that I didn't really see a lot of his face, if anybody else did, if he has a facial scar somewhere.
He does.
That's what he does?
Yeah, he has one going across his eye.
He does?
Yeah.
Really? Now I
pretty
feel like
sure.
I need to like see a picture of Daryl.
Stare deeply into Norman Reedus's face.
Yeah, I
Seb.
guess I'm not staring at his face enough.
You really not?
Yeah, because I thought maybe they just like fucked up from the editing standpoint. Or maybe he does have a big scar across his face. I can't tell if that's just hair or dirt. Or general 6-year dirtiness on his face, but all right, maybe if he does have a scar across his face, that explains the way he asked that question. Because I just had assumed that maybe obviously maybe they filmed those out of sequence and that was supposed to happen after the fact. But it does kind of look like he has a scar going over his
like
left eye.
Yeah, his like eye area.
Yeah, like
Across the
straight
brow.
down, like
Yeah.
up and down, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, so then apparently everyone's just getting fucked up with scar people. So, all right, that makes more sense then, and I'm less confused. But, John, last week we were talking about whether we thought Daryl was hunting or whether he was actually living out there. So I guess it turns out that he was, in fact, living out there the entire time.
He went straight up hermit.
Straight up hermit, typical Daryl. But now he has a dog.
Dog.
That's what I'm going to name my dog moving forward. Dog.
It's perfect. I can't wait.
I'm not even going to lie. I already started yelling at my dog and saying, "Dog, come." You could tell Waylon. You could just call Waylon dog.
Yeah, it wouldn't really matter what I called him as long as I was headed towards where the treats are.
He's like, "You can call me whatever you want."
Give a damn. It's fine. Paw,
Give
one
me a
paw,
treat.
2 paw. I don't know. Whatever. Money? Do you want money? I have money.
So I read a cool theory online, which I don't know if it's actually true or accurate, but I thought it was representative of the character of Daryl, that he didn't actually give the dog a name other than Dog because he didn't want to get emotionally attached to the dog. And I kind of like that theory.
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on for his character.
Yeah, good job, Reddit. Good job. Over or under, when are we going to see this dog die?
Nope. Unsubscribe.
This is going to be the finale death.
Ugh.
Instead of a human's head on the pike for the Whisperer storyline, it's going to be Doggo's head on the pike.
No.
Guaranteed. I'm calling it now.
Everyone send your hate mail to Sebastian.
I don't want to see the dog die, but come on.
Oh, no, he
definitely
does. Reddit, he wants to see it. All right? Are you listening, Reddit?
I love my dog. I would never want to see a doggy die, but I just feel like it has to happen. How long is he really going to have this dog for?
I mean, he made it this long.
Did you watch Talking Dead?
I did.
Oh my god! Did you hear the joke Michael Cudlitz made about the dog dying?
He was not a fan of that dog.
It was hilarious. So he was like, "Yeah, the two biggest problems while filming were lightning and the dog, and I kind of wish the dog got struck by lightning." And everyone's just like, "Oh." I can only imagine. I'm sure PETA is knocking on his door as we speak.
Listen, man, America can't tolerate a dog dying, all right? Mass murder is one thing, okay? People wearing dead people's faces, another thing entirely. But can't animal murder? No, we won't stand for it. Not our pets.
Nope. That's why you love people. You literally have a homeless child on the street or what appears to be a homeless dog, and people will give more attention to the dog than they will the homeless child. They're like, the child can help itself. The dog can't.
Get a job, Grouch.
Get a job, yeah, bum. Gosh, that's fun. Gotta love America, right?
Oh, it's fantastic.
So... Also, we were talking last week about, Carol going to look for her friend, and it seemed way too obvious that it was going to be Daryl. But it turned out it was. We thought she just happened to come across Daryl along the way, but it turns out she was, in fact, looking for him in order to convince him to come along to Hilltop and, I won't say watch over Henry, but essentially watch over Henry.
Right. Hey, would you babysit my kid who's not my kid? Thanks.
And I think that also goes back to last week when we were talking about Father Ezekiel makes the comment like, oh, I'm a dreamer and Henry's a dreamer and who's going to, bring him down from his flights of fancy? And Carol's like, well, I kind of have someone in mind. I guess she was talking about Daryl because he definitely seems the type who would kill the moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing she asks if he'll help, and he's like, nah, he's got to learn. Like we all did.
I got dog.
Sorry.
That was really accurate. I'm not gonna lie.
Appreciate it.
Good job.
You're here all week.
So ultimately, at the end, why do you think it is that Dennis? Why do you think it was that Daryl decides to go with Henry and watch over him?
He loves Carol.
Mm.
You can't say no to Carol at the end of the day. Can't. I don't know.
Right.
Dennis, what do you think?
I don't know. He kind of owes him because that kid saved his life. It's going to be his protege.
Did he, though? Did he?
Because Carol was watching with a bow and arrow anyway. Ain't nobody was going to die.
Oh, that's true. You're right. She was watching in the wings the whole time.
Yeah, she's like, I got you, boo. It's all right.
I found it hard to believe, and I'm glad they did that because I would have found it super hard to believe that anyone would have slept through that remotely. You have like Daryl yelling and screaming, the dog barking, like zombies all over the fucking place. I'm like, there's no way Carol is sleeping through this. Like, come on. You got to imagine like the lightest rustle outside will wake you up in this world. Like, you're never fully asleep in this world.
No, and Carol's arguably one of the most equipped survivors out there, period.
For sure. She probably just doesn't sleep at all.
I haven't slept since 1978. I'm good. I live off the sun. I can do photosynthesis. I don't even need food.
I haven't slept since Rick Grimes died. 6 years straight, she's just been awake. That's why she's a little bit wacky this season.
When that bridge exploded, my eyes were opened. And they never closed. They never did.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, so I don't know if Henry really saved Daryl. I feel like Daryl probably would have been fine anyway. This was like actually the one little part of the episode that I wasn't a huge fan of. It felt very contrived, and again, characters that are supposed to be hardened survivors kind of doing silly things. Daryl getting tripped up and dropping the knife, and like the zombies like holding his feet. I'm just like, come on, like this is a little bit silly.
Yeah, well, he loves a dog now.
He does love a dog. I actually saw a lot of people, just to clarify this, a lot of people were like, why would Daryl tie up the dog all the way out there? Like, blah, blah.
My God.
Daryl did not tie up the dog. There's traps all around, and the dog accidentally got caught in the trap.
You think it was an accident, though?
I don't. You're right, because there was that interesting comment that Daryl has, like, that's never happened before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Daryl says he checks them. He's trained the dog to check those traps.
I mean, I heard that, but I was like, you really think that's like a thing?
I think, there were some. Like I said, it throughout the episode, and it's increasing, but you feel the whisperers kind of like it's their presence, and they're just like probing for weakness, just probing them.
No, you're kind of right. Dennis, you thought the same thing?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
Damn. I must not be a very astute viewer because I did not notice that. I did not think about that whatsoever. But I do kind of like that idea, and I guess I just find it hard to believe that a walker or even a person dressed up as a walker would like be able to get close enough to that dog to do that. Seems a little far-fetched, but I mean, he did make the comment, and I feel like the only reason they say certain things in this show just so like for those fun little moments like that. So I buy it, and I kind of like what that does to the show. It makes it a little bit more ominous feeling. Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of it with Daryl and Henry. I mean, you got anything else there?
No, we're free to leave off-brand Carl.
I kind of like this kid. I'm not gonna lie.
I think the actor, the performance. Yeah, I think he's got good presence. he's been given a little bit. He's a little one-dimensional right now. We just haven't spent a lot of time with him, I think, is the reason.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think he's strikes me as a bit of a better actor than Chandler Riggs, honestly.
Yeah.
But he does have, he comes from a lineage of fine actors there at the Lynch family, so...
That's not an exaggeration. Like, they literally all act.
Yeah, everyone except the parents, right? Or do the parents act too?
Do they even need to? They're probably just their agent.
Yeah, I know. I don't... Those situations always, like, kind of bother me a little bit, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, with the child labor.
Not even child labor, just, like... forced stage mommy and daddiness. Like, what are the chances that you have 4 kids and all 4 kids want to be actors? Like, really?
Well, what's the alternative? You could go be a fireman, or you could be an actor.
Sure. You could be anything you want. You don't have to be an actor, so I don't know.
What's the 4th kid acting?
They're all actors. So Madison Lintz was Sophia. Maxon Lintz was Little Henry. Matt Lintz is Big Henry. And Mackenzie Lintz was in Under the Dome.
Yeah.
And she's been in a bunch of things, actually, Mackenzie Lintz.
Oh, okay. I think I know who that is.
Yeah, just Google her. You'll know. She was like kind of like the punk rock chick in Under the Dome.
I like that show.
What'd you say?
It was good.
That show was good?
Solid.
Dennis.
A+.
Hang up right now.
Shots fired.
Did that show even, like, did they actually get an ending? Because I stopped watching it because it got so dumb. But I read the ending of the book, and I was like, damn, this is dumb as fuck, and I'm so glad I stopped watching it. But is that how they ended it in the show, too? Like the book?
How did they end it in the book?
Well, I don't want to spoil it, but aliens.
Oh, yeah.
That's how they ended it in the show?
Yeah.
See, that just kind of, like, makes me feel like I wasted 3 years of my life watching a show like that.
Well, this is how this show's gonna end.
The show?
Yeah, Kirkman said it was all aliens. That was his big plea to get this comic.
He probably is serious, too. Like, he's, like, trying to act like he's just trolling us and joking, but I bet you it really is just aliens.
Right. He's, like, alone in his room, like, shit, it is aliens. What the fuck do I do now?
That's what the helicopter goes to, like, some sort of, like, space station, and there's aliens. So, Rick is going to be in space for the 3 movies. It's going to be fun.
Rick, you're an astronaut. I'm a what?
Oh, what? Can you see Daryl in space? That'd be fun. All right, let's talk about Michonne and Magna's group. Kind of talked a little bit about like some of the different things that happened, but there's a bunch of different cool things that I thought were throughout this episode that I kind of want to talk about. I was surprised, and Dennis, you read the comics, so you're aware. I feel like Yumiko is actually more of the leader of this group than Magna is.
Absolutely.
The way they're like, she kind of rides up front. She kind of speaks for all of them. That surprised me since Magna seems to be the leader in the comic books.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it like matters, but I thought it was an interesting little call out.
No, well, I mean, true power, it doesn't have to do anything. It moves quiet. You don't have to say anything. If you have to say you're the leader, you ain't. And I think a lot of this is due to the actresses just presence, like on screen. Eleanor Matsuura just kind of conveys that authority just in her manner. And then everybody just sort of, obviously we're playing with the script and everything, they look to her for direction, but when like the shit hits the fan with the Walker, she's the one leading her group and integrating them with Michonne's direction to make both teams function. It's not Magna who does that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Free to spoil here at all from the comics.
Well, them making out.
Yeah, I was about to say like because they're like a love interest. So
yeah, that's confirmed.
Okay.
In the series, yeah.
Yeah, the chick who plays Magna confirmed that. She said because that just happened in the comics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, where they're like making out. I mean, you could definitely, even without the actress confirming it, on outside sources, you could definitely tell there's a thing between the two of them as they're like cuddling and that other scene in this episode. So they definitely give the couple vibe off, even though it wasn't, even if it wasn't officially announced in the show, you could kind of tell that that's the situation, much to my dismay.
It'll never be for you, Seb.
I know. I love me some Magnum, man. All them tattoos. Those tattoos are real too. Did you know that?
That works for me.
I know.
Checking all the boxes so far. No one else.
Hilarity though of who you're marrying.
I know, right?
Everyone is like, oh, you have types. I feel like you never end up with your actual type.
100% do not.
No.
100%.
I'm not Courtney's type. She is not my type. And here we are, 11 years later. So, so yeah, I want to call that about Yumiko. I thought that was cool. Magda's kind of like a little bit of a whiny bitch, but it's okay. It works. Yeah. So I was just complaining about her knives and whatever. I want my stuff back. Blah, blah, blah. But going back to a point you made, John, about Yumiko kind of like directing people or integrating it with Michonne's group, I thought the way they shot the whole fight scene with the walkers was really cool. A, I thought it was just generally a cool scene. It was a lot of fun. B, I thought it spoke to how this group has survived so long. And last week we talked about, having a deaf group member and how almost it feels like unbelievable that she's able to survive this much time, and it must speak to the strength of this group as a whole. And I think we definitely see that executed here in this episode, where they all kind of work together in a harmonious group, kind of create, would you say, a perfect symphony? The way they handle all the walkers together. And then I even thought the scene with Connie where she's like literally feeling the ground and she could like feel the walkers coming. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's remotely accurate, but I think that's fucking awesome.
Well, they do like snap right into action, and they convey how a couple things. One is they convey how desperate the situation was. When they're found, surrounded by walkers in that area, and how several deft shots from the cult were to clear the way were the only way that they were going to get out of there. Because you see now when it's a straight up fight, they're a pretty well oiled machine. These are pretty savvy survivors. Even Luke, opening up the two doors, creating a bottleneck for himself so that he can just funnel the walkers in and kill them because he knows he's not a strong fighter, but he's ingenious enough to be able to use the surroundings to his advantage. And hell, even Magnus, like, oh, we need our weapons, and like, fuck it, picks up a brick and just starts going to town.
Yeah.
I love that scene you were talking about with Luke, how he just opens up the doors and you just hear him laugh a little bit just to get attacked from behind. I'm kind of curious. Is he like the Eugene of this group? Is he really a fighter at this point?
I think everyone's a fighter more or less because they have to be. What are we? Are we 8 years in now total?
Yeah, about.
It's about 8. If you're still alive now, you're alive for a reason. And I think he said like it's luck and it's the people I found. At a certain point, you have to knuckle up.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say like even when he was cornered by that one walker after he closed the two doors and that one kind of attacked him from behind, I didn't get the impression that he was particularly scared. I felt like he was like more organizing himself to be able to kill the thing, because I don't even think he had a weapon at that point. I think he just had his backpack, so he was kind of just like trying to hold it back, but he didn't have like a Eugene like, oh god, I'm gonna die, someone please save me kind of thing. And he has that like really funny moment where Connie ends up shooting it in the head with the slingshot. Yeah, slingshot. I mean, is that a slingshot?
That's a slingshot.
Yeah, a slingshot, and he gives like the sign language for thank you, but he does it very like sarcastically. I thought it was funny as shit. So
it's like I had that one. Okay.
Yeah. He doesn't strike me as like a very needy person, so I thought that was cool. What do you guys think of the slingshot as a weapon?
Dennis, you first.
I mean, I guess it could work, but at the same time, how do you do that with like a newly like dead person? Would that go through a skull?
It would not, unless you can rear back and fire a bullet out of that thing. I don't. A little
really
suspension
hard
of disbelief. Right, a really hard rock, a really, the good Lord took my hearing, but he gave me a powerful bicep, but it just.
Well, I mean, they do say that, like, if you lose a sense, all your other senses are, like, heightened. So maybe her, like, touch is heightened. That's why she could, like, feel the ground vibrating or whatever. And
sure.
Her eyesight, and that's why she was able to see the things in the woods.
Yeah, it's Daredevil. We have Daredevil now.
Yeah. And another sense became her arm, and she's able to really rocket that fucking rock at a walker. So I don't know. I think it's cool. I'm gonna let it go.
Right. I listen. I want it to be cool, but then the part of me who's like physics is like that's not a thing.
Yeah. See, if you were ignorant like me and just didn't know things, it would you'd enjoy things a lot more.
Listen. If I had the choice between carrying in a gun or a slingshot, I would still pick gun.
Yeah, I fully agree, definitely, for sure. So, but they are putting heads at this point, so,
true.
I wish she hit like a whisper and it just like dinks off his
head. It's like,
head.
ow!
God damn it!
Son of a bitch!
Were we supposed to believe that this group contained whisperers?
I think we were supposed to believe that they were directed there by the whisperers.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, because they didn't really like make a ton of noise, and I found it kind of interesting that they all kind of came in on this one place where they weren't really doing anything to draw attention to themselves. But it also seemed like it was a herd. They said it was a herd because at the end they find the Bernie or whatever wearing his really ugly paisley shirt. That was like ridiculous. Like, somehow they were actually able to elicit some emotion out of me, like an emotional reaction out of me. But then looking at this guy, and he's like straight out of the fucking like 70s with his paisley shirt and his like really bad haircut, I'm like, this guy is ridiculous.
I mean, but Magna kind of sells it. She falls to pieces a little bit.
She did, yeah. So clearly they all had a very close relationship with each other. And again, this goes back to the storytelling. I feel like they were able to develop this new group well enough that I actually gave a shit about this fucking dude that we've never even met before. And the only information that we've gotten from him are little notes from different characters throughout the last couple of episodes since we saw them, telling us about him. And like you said, Magnus' actress really like kind of sold that gut-wrenching moment when he appears. I wonder how he died, because he was pretty fucked up.
Yeah, that looks like you got eaten a little bit. You didn't go well.
No, definitely did not go well. So they were driving like a big rig, like a truck.
Is that what that thing was? I couldn't really tell, to be honest.
I thought it was like a Fear the Walking Dead style, like 18-wheeler, right? Dennis? No, maybe.
I didn't see it. I just saw like the area that you store stuff in, and I thought that's what they were talking about. Like just bunkered down there.
It looked like some like shipping container or something.
Yeah.
I feel like she had a big rig in the comics, but I can't remember. Could totally be making that up. I guess it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, but still fun. Apparently everyone's just driving like giant fucking trucks in this world. Convenient gasoline. Same with Fear the Walking Dead.
That's right.
Whatever. Cost effective, I guess.
There's diesel everywhere, Seb. You didn't know?
Yeah. 10 years later, it's all still good.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so that's kind of it for Michonne and Magna. I mean, we find out from Sadiq. Sadiq drops the bomb on Maggie. Honestly, I feel super played last week, and I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But The Walking Dead was able to finally like trick me, and I thought that was nice because so many characters last week were referencing her and she when they talked about Hilltop, right?
Yeah, but didn't we know? Like at the core, we knew.
Knew what?
We knew who that she was gonna be.
Who?
It was always gonna be Tara.
No, but they weren't talking about Tara. That's like the interesting thing looking back now, because so many of these characters, because it further shows like how disconnected the communities are.
Oh, you're
so
right.
many of
That's
those characters. Yeah, right? That's what I thought was cool. I was like, damn, they even played me, because I know too much about what's actually happening on the outside of this show.
No,
and I'm applying it to the story, and all the characters are saying, like, yo, no, we're still in the story, dude. And I don't fucking know. I didn't know that fucking Maggie left. So that's why when I talk about she and her, you know, I'm speaking as though Maggie's still there, because apparently none of these people actually knew that she left. I guess.
Right. You're right. No, that's well played. That's well played.
Yeah.
Did it say in the show when she left, apparently?
No.
They do not. Sometime after whatever that incident was that led to her and Michonne's falling out.
Yes. Well, I mean, so it seems like certain people know that Maggie left and certain people don't. So, not Father Gabriel, Ezekiel says it hasn't been the same since she, and then whatever, she gets cut off by Carol. So we assumed he was talking about Maggie. Then, I guess it makes sense where Michonne is like, well, I'll bring you to Hilltop and she can decide. She thinks, I want to say Lauren, she thinks Maggie is still there at the Hilltop, so that kind of ties in there. No, I don't think they ever explicitly like stated. Obviously, some point within the last 6 years, she disappeared. But Sadiq apparently knows, and I guess he found out from Aaron, because Aaron's been having like little sparring matches in the woods with Jesus, and they've been staying up to date with each other, I guess.
Makes sense.
So does literally everyone know except for Michonne that Maggie left?
I don't want to say everyone, because we haven't seen everyone. But it's starting to look that way, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so Sadiq obviously knew. So who's he getting his information from? Probably Aaron. And then obviously everyone at Hilltop knows. It seemed like King Ezekiel knew. So I would assume everyone at the Kingdom knows. So really, it seems like the only one who's been left out of the loop is Michonne here. So she'll probably be pretty pissy about that, I would assume.
Yeah, I think the only one in the cast list here that may not know is somebody who was in a credit only, Negan excluded. Negan probably doesn't know, but is somebody that it's a curious absence, especially in light of Maggie's disappearance, and that's Callum McAuliffe, who plays Alden.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he wasn't there, was he?
Was not there. Conspicuously absent, if you think about it.
Has he been referenced in past episodes of being alive?
We haven't heard from him since the last time we saw him. Did we even see him the episode that Rick left? I don't think so. We might have.
That Rick got blown up?
Right. I
feel like someone talks about him. Someone says something about him. I can't exactly remember what it was. But remember the Savior guy steals the gun, and he stole it from Alden. But then I can't remember. I don't think he was in the 6 years later. But also, did we really see Hilltop in the 6 year later either?
Well, we see it. We see Hilltop this episode.
Yeah, he's definitely missing.
Mm-hmm.
That ties.
To kind of explain to the listeners here, who is he again?
Alden.
And by the listeners, we mean Dennis.
Yeah, I am blanking. Who is he?
So Alden is one of the saviors who was initially captured and held at Hilltop. He was one of the more reasonable ones who spoke to Maggie, almost negotiated kind of his work release, really, and then slowly became a member of the community. And by that first time jump, he's really integral to Hilltop and kind of building the bridge with Rick and that contingent. And was slowly kind of starting to look like a potential love interest for Maggie. And now we haven't seen nor heard from him since. And when you put that in light of a falling out, and what could have happened if the communities are still standing, if Herschel, Maggie's son, is still alive, Maggie herself is okay, all other communities are relatively intact. What could have caused this falling out.
Got it.
Do you remember who we're talking about now? No.
No, I got it.
He's got classically good looks. He
Right.
talks like Christopher Walken. Like, yeah.
Everything's all very reasonable here. You know, he's very like, you know,
Prim.
Right.
Proper.
no one's trying to do anything. No one's killing
no.
anybody.
Not today. Also missing Cindy from Oceanside.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the Oceanside women, as far as I can tell. So either they went back to Oceanside or something else occurred there as well.
Right.
I think they have their own community though.
Yeah, but
Oceanside.
why would it would seem weird that Oceanside would go all the way back and kind of like isolate themselves. But then again, maybe they're better off than everyone else because they're by an ocean. They have basically an endless food supply, right?
Endless.
Limitless. Wait, what's wrong with the word endless? That's an appropriate word.
Sure, but it's not endless, is it? I mean,
the ocean?
what needs do we have that the sea cannot provide? Well, there's only so many fish in the sea.
Are you suggesting that Oceanside is going to fish all the fish out of the sea?
Well, it's the Atlantic Ocean. It's salt water. Can they get a boat out to like where they need to be to actually get fish?
You go surf fishing.
Surf fishing.
Yeah, surf fishing.
Isn't that like a Hawaiian tradition steeped in their culture? Is it just a bunch of white women at the beach?
I'm not talking like you're not literally surfing.
You're on a board though, right?
No, you're not. It's the surf fishing. You're just standing on the beach fishing.
Is
that shore fishing?
Right.
No, it's called surf fishing.
That's not a thing.
Yes, it is. Google surf fishing.
I will not. I will continue denying its existence, and I will not Google it.
Literally, Google image search right now. Search fishing.
Although all my conjecture about Alden's disappearance, like he's listed in the credits for the following episode, Evolution.
Yeah, but that doesn't really mean anything. I don't believe anything fucking IMDb says.
I don't believe anything they say. This show, it's a myth.
Damn thing.
It's a
myth. All right, there you go. Click that little thing I just sent you for surf fishing.
He won't let it go.
I love that you. I mean, it does sound like a fun Hawaiian tradition. I'm not gonna lie, or spear fishing. That's always an option.
Look at the size of this fishing rod. We've got
yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, we've got those just laying around in the post-apocalypse. Sure.
Come on, they're at the ocean. They can definitely find fishing rods.
Yeah, I keep driving over them. The further I get to the coast, as close as I get, you try to go to the ocean, you just drive over fishing rods. It happens.
Jonathan, hang up. No. This is by the end of the podcast. It's just me here talking to myself.
Look at Dennis got kicked off like half hour ago.
All right. We already talked about the importance of the music and the violin. And we kind of talked about that whole battle. So do we have anything else there with Michonne and Magnus' group? Why, even after Michonne learns that Maggie isn't at the hilltop, why, John, do you think it is that she still doesn't want to go to the hilltop?
This is the trouble spot for me for this episode. Is just Michonne's general reaction to things here. Because she's afraid. She has to be afraid at the core of it. She doesn't want a confrontation. She doesn't want to force an issue with her appearance for whatever reason. It's only when they find out that they have they find Rosita, she's injured, like, all right, we'll let them know that Michonne and the others are coming. I think it's fear, and that's not becoming Michonne, at least the Michonne that we know. And we've spent, the Michonne we've spent time with is like, I ain't afraid of no bitch. So, I don't know.
Well, it makes me think then it's like a larger issue outside of just Maggie, then.
I think it has to be, right? It has to be something like, I don't want to say like huge. I don't want to like oversell whatever it is that happened, but, yeah.
Yeah, and we also don't see Michonne actually arrive to the hilltop by the end of this episode, so we don't really get anyone else's reaction to her.
Right. It's not like everyone's like, and they clutch their pearls, and it's Michonne the Destroyer, and like they have to close the gate. We don't know.
Yeah. No, you're right. But obviously she ends up there anyway because those two riders come down. This felt like so Game of Thronesy to me when these two riders with like big ass spears came down and are you from House Hilltop? And like, yeah, I don't know. I kind of like that. It was like the closest this show's ever gotten to Game of Thrones ever. It was fun. Because you don't like really see that in this show. You don't see like two communities that are like okay with each other interacting in like a situation. Like, how do these two schmucks from Hilltop not know who Michonne is?
You know, not a lot of photos get passed around. I don't know. They didn't check her Facebook. Who knows?
I just feel like you would know who the like representative leader of Alexandria is. I would assume.
Sure, but she's not. They have a council.
Remember? Yeah, you're right. They have a council. You're right. All right. Yeah. So that's kind of it. I thought Siddiq had a bit of a low blow. When Michonne says that she fulfilled her promise to Judith, and then Siddiq was like, "What about Carl? Did you keep your promise to him?" And I was like, was that really necessary, Siddiq? I don't think it was, you jerk.
It was 6 years ago, man. I would just backhand that mother, just chow.
Well, like, what was the point he was making?
Right.
Like, because she didn't feel like riding to Hilltop with these new people, that she wasn't honoring the death of her son? Like, that's fucked.
Right? Like, I don't know, Siddiq. Let's compare notes about who got Carl killed.
Yeah, for real, right? To honor your stupid parents. Like, go fuck yourself. I wish you just cut his head off. Just lobbed his head straight off.
Need a new doctor. Whip.
Oh, that was actually one of my biggest problems with this episode. That Michonne was willing. I mean, I understand like the whole point of this trip was so that she could prove out that Magnus Group was telling the truth and that they were trustworthy and whatever. I found it super unbelievable that she would allow her Alexandria's only doctor to travel with, you know, ex-savior, whoever, those two alone with this new group on the way. Like, really? Is that really the best idea, to allow your doctor to take these people? Like, that just seems foolish to me.
Right? You're going to leave Siddiq with sexy DJ just out there in the woods?
Just seems like a really bad decision, in my opinion. Like, I would have sent my doctor out there to do it.
Again,
but...
these are decisions that are not becoming of the character that we know. And it rings a little false some of the time here. And, you know, the point you had earlier, like, she better snap out of this shit quick or it's going to get, like, annoying fast.
Yeah. I mean, dare I say, are we, like, running out of, like, important characters? Is that possible?
I think this is the ramification of like a really purely ensemble like show.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
because like Alexandria doesn't have like any other recognizable face, so they're like, oh, I guess we gotta send Siddiq.
I mean, you can't send Gabriel; he's not a warrior.
No.
You know,
actually, I probably would have believed Gabriel more than Siddiq.
I guess
honestly.
That's fair. You know,
yeah. At this rate,
Gabriel's been out there. He can do some shit.
Yeah, nowadays. He's full on man,
right?
He's the only one getting sexed up in this.
Listen, Father Gabriel can get it. Okay.
Yes, he can. Yeah, and that's it. So Connie thinks she sees something in the woods, and obviously the way that was filmed, it seems to imply that someone is indeed watching them. So she's right about that, even though she says nothing. Never mind. All right. So then, last but not least, you have Tara and Jesus at the Hilltop. Hilltop still obviously seems to be thriving, even with Maggie gone. Enid is still the town doctor, and Jesus is essentially the appointed leadership now that Maggie is gone, and he was actually voted in by the people unopposed. And he's kind of just like your unwilling leader type. He doesn't really want to be in the position of leadership. which is kind of like angsty teenager emo pants for me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like he's always liked being Maggie's right-hand man. He always seemed to like enjoy that power, and now all of a sudden he's in full power and he doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I don't. It's a bit disingenuous to like, I don't really want this power. You ran for office.
Well, was it voluntary? I don't know.
Well, yeah, he's not. Otherwise, he's a slave. Like, what's the ramifications there where you can't? You know what I mean? What's the story there?
Right. Well, he kind of plays it off like he is. He's like, ugh, give Tammy her fucking cornfield.
Yeah, it's a little maudlin. There's a bit of melodrama there, to be certain.
Yeah. But
I think he thought it was going to be a lot shorter than what it is too.
Yeah.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, well, he was talking to Tara, and Tara was like trying to say that it's been years or however long it's been. She's not coming back. You're the leader. Something along those lines.
Yeah, because he won't.
No, you're right.
Because he won't move into Maggie's office. You're like, you can take the office. She's not coming back. He's like, I don't want to, because he can't bring himself to believe that it's not temporary.
Temporary, exactly. Yeah, I mean, she kind of makes that statement there, and like at this point, I just don't know why he doesn't allow Tara to take over and kind of control. It kind of feels like a little strange, like with the whole Jesus training Aaron thing, and Tara basically assuming Jesus's position on the hilltop. I'm feeling a little nervous for Jesus.
Uh-oh.
Does he seem like he's kind of like training himself out of being important in the show?
Yeah, Tom, get your contract sorted out, baby. Okay. Get at least another season or two out of this show, otherwise they're gonna get you bit.
I mean, that would be again another huge departure from the comic books if that's the avenue that they decide to go. Personally, I think his character is probably a little bit played out at this point. I love, like, if he does die, which I would be okay with, like, Angela Kang's just, like, trimming the motherfucking fat on this show, and I feel like she's cutting people that have been exhausted at this point.
Right.
Like, this character, there's nothing else I could really figure out to do with them, and then instead of just, like, putting them in this infinite loop of doing the same thing over and over and over again, I'm just gonna fucking cut them out completely. And I think that's really smart on her part.
Yeah, but we got a huge ass cast, And,
Yeah.
And if you can't tell a good story, there's no reason to keep the guy in the Georgia heat every summer. Just
with that long, luscious hair.
Right. Tom, cut your hair, baby. Get that man bun out of the way.
Did he cut his hair yet?
No, not yet.
No. They'll probably put that in his contract.
Like Kit Harington's hair watch.
Oh, God. Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, that's why everyone knew Chandler was going to die, because he cut his hair. I was like, how do you not, like... What?
No, you're right. I'm like, dude.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, huh?
It's like, how do you not, like, force someone to keep their hair long so it doesn't spoil your entire show? I don't know. Or maybe he cut it after. I don't remember. That was too long ago. That was a very long time ago. But yeah, Maggie's gone. She's with Georgie building a new community, it sounds like. She took Herschel with her. And I guess this is actually the smartest, most believable way that they could have written Lauren off the show for what could be either a temporary time or permanently. Really, it kind of works either way for them. And it doesn't seem far-fetched, and it definitely is believable.
Right.
I actually surprisingly don't have an issue with it at all.
No,
which is shocking.
And it's how we thought that they would do it.
Yeah. I mean, if they fill the backstory in more with something that's even more entertaining about why exactly it is that she left, I think that would be even better. Although, like, I don't even necessarily feel like it needs to happen. It kind of seemed like after she had that come to Jesus moment with Negan at the end of last episode, that kind of felt like the perfect kind of conclusion to her story in a way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Once she comes face to face with the thing that she's wanted to do, the thing that she can't move past, and now that she has, a lot of other options open up for her character story-wise.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here anymore. That's a decision she can make.
Well, so I just hope they don't like try to like force some unbelievable conflict down her throat, you know, and like create something that's not necessarily believable as to why she would leave when she already had the perfect excuse to leave in the first place.
Right. And now she can go do Whiskey Cavalier with fellow Walking Dead alum Tyler James Williams. You may know him by his character Noah.
The guy who got his face ripped off in the turnstile or whatever the fuck. No, not the turnstile. Right. What is that thing called?
Revolving door.
Around. Revolving door. Yeah. I can't think of words tonight.
Right. Sometimes the name isn't glamorous. It's just like it's a revolving door. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Turnstile is that other thing that you go through at like a baseball stadium.
It's true.
Whatever. It's close. It's close. Yeah, so that's kind of it. What did you think of the ninja training thing? A little goofy?
When, like, he should be a little more hurt if Aaron was, like, flying through the air, took him off a horse to the ground.
That was pretty ridiculous, I'm not going to lie.
I mean, real good athleticism by Aaron, though, to get that high in the air, lateral, just full flat out, like he's diving for the pylon, like trying to score a touchdown, and just, you know, destroys him.
I'm not gonna lie, that scared the shit out of me when I was watching it, because I just did not see it happening. Like, it's a very comic book thing to happen, but I almost feel like it did happen in the comics, like some variety of it. But it was just like very strange to see like actually acted out. It was pretty fucking funny. But yeah, so that's it. Rosita's back at the hilltop. She's dehydrated, not hydrated. She's being hydrated. And yeah, that's it. Tara hasn't seen Rosita or Aaron long time. And
I have a quick question for you guys.
Sure.
Aaron's prosthetic hand, is it like super huge? Like 5 times bigger than what a hand should be? I wonder if it's like supposed to be like that big to be like a weapon of some sort.
Yeah, he's got like an Army of Darkness kind of hand going on right now. I was waiting for that thing to move.
Yeah, is it supposed to be like a bionic arm?
I imagine like they had like the blacksmith make it or something, but like that should be just kind of heavy as fuck.
Yeah, I'm a little bit. It's reminding me a bit of when Michael Rooker had his mechanical arm, but this one looks a little bit better.
Yeah.
It still looks unbelievable. It almost looks like they built it around his existing arm and hand. So it makes it look more believable than the way they like put that weird stumpy cap on Michael Rooker's arm, and it looked like if he like had his hands down by his waist, his one hand was like literally dragging on the ground. That's how long it was. Like, this one seems like they built it around his existing hand. It doesn't look, like, super long compared to his real hand. So, to me, it actually looked okay. I wasn't too bothered by it. Frankly, I'd rather just see, like, you know, if they put some money behind, like, fucking actual CGI or something like that. But we all know they're not going to do that. So, especially if Aaron's going to be taking a more prominent role in the show and he has to be on camera more, there's no way they're CGIing that arm. We might get a stump every so often. Who knows? What? Were you going to say something?
No, I agree. The only other thing, if it's like a very artfully put together glove, so that like Ross Marquand can like put it on, and it's not CGI'd and it's not actually metal, it just really looks like it is.
That's why I thought it was like some sort of like gold, coated something, fabric something,
ish thing.
Yeah, with like solid fingers, so he doesn't move the hand. Yeah, so. I don't know. That was it. Basically, at the end of the episode, the gang reunites. They find out that Eugene is still out there. So Daryl, Jesus, and Aaron, they go out to look for Eugene.
Dog!
Tara says she's going to take over for Jesus in his absence. And that's really it. Michonne doesn't arrive to the hilltop by the time everyone leaves. So the end of the episode. I really like Michael Kudlitz's use of drone footage in this episode. They really got some really cool aerial views a couple of times throughout this episode, which I thought was a nice touch and different than what we've seen on this show before. Because they have these huge sets that I feel like they never show them. So, show all the work. Like, you built this huge fucking hilltop set, all these gardens and everything else. They're, like, building outside of the walls now, which I thought was cool. So, clearly they have some more confidence in just day-to-day living. That I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah, and that's how cities get built, right? You start with the tight thing that's behind all the walls, that's protected, and then you outgrow it. You have to build outward, and then how do you protect that? And it's he did a really nice job of showing the advance of what is the new kind of civilization.
Indeed. Good job, Cuddles. I think that's what they call him.
Cuddles?
That's what all his fans call him. Cuddles. Weird seeing him on The Talking Dead, not with that freakish red hair.
And good for him. Good for him to return and get to use his own damn hair color.
He has like this real natural, like silvery, like blonde hair. It's like a very interesting hair color.
He's an attractive man.
Indeed. All right, you want to get into episode ratings?
Let's do it.
Who are we lately? 90 minutes.
Jesus. Just chatty Cathy's out here. So positive.
So positive, yeah, right? When you have like good things to say about an episode and like different things to contemplate. Like this is what was so strong about Fear the Walking Dead last season. Well, not strong, but like the whole like talking about Madison and like whether she's alive or dead. Like there's just like a lot of unanswered questions in this. Yeah. Still after the 6-year time jump. A lot of fun things to still speculate, so it gives you some decent shit to talk about. But okay, so last week, episode 6, Who Are You Now? John, you rated that an 8.179, and I rated that an 8.199. I don't know, Dennis, you didn't give a rating last week, but do you want to give a rating for last week's episode?
Put me down for a 7.
7. Cool. All right, Dennis, what did you rate this week? Stradivarius.
I'll rate a 6.5.
6.5, all right. Ooh. Still pretty good by Dennis standards. John, where are you at?
Not as strong as Where Are You Now? For me, Stradivarius is still strong, though. So I'm going to go 7.9989.
9989.
That's right.
I like it. Where do you compare this? I personally compare this probably like maybe the bottom of all of the episodes for season 9 so far, but not by like a very small margin. So right. I'm gonna stick it. I think my lowest rating was a 7.901. So I'm gonna give this just a 7.90. Can't get any smaller margin than 0.001, right?
Razor thin.
All right, so we have a little bit of feedback. Can I read the feedback?
Go for it.
Cool. If you want to send feedback into the show, you could do so by emailing twdepodcast@gmail.com, or you could comment on our Facebook page, facebook.com/fandomfound. This is from last week. This is Christian. He says, "Hi guys, just a few thoughts on this episode. Rick's hallucinations of past characters was done well, but how did they not get Glenn back for this? Instead, we got Sasha, which was a letdown for me. I don't recall Rick having much of a connection to her." Oh, this is going way back.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
This is going back to episode 5. Scott Wilson and Andrew Lincoln seen together was the highlight. I thought the episode felt a little rushed, and the writing was a bit lazy. We didn't get to see how the camp standoff ended. Well, you should feel better about that now, because we did find out that it did, and Carol set them all on fire. How is there a bunch of dynamite conveniently laying on the bridge with the Savior's Revolt starting up? Rick still had plot armor up until the final moments of the series. However, it was a decent episode overall. One last thing. I'm not a big fan of child actors, and from what I've seen, I'm afraid future time jump Judith is going to be annoying the shit out of me. Let's hope Gimple isn't involved in any of the blatant cash grab Rick AMC mini movies. Well, I'm pretty sure he's the one leading those movies.
That's what an executive producer means.
He says, "I'll hang in for the rest of the season and see if it's any good without Rick. Always enjoying hearing your guys' thoughts." That's from Christian. So actually, I was on Sis to Speak podcast last week talking about episode 6, and we were talking about the movies a little bit, and they made the comment that maybe the movies were going to be on AMC Premiere, not actually on TV.
Yep, I think that's probably what they'll do. I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm kind of pissed because I didn't think about that, and now I'm like really annoyed because
you'll have
I
to
don't
pay
want to sign up for it.
$5 for 1 month, half the price of a movie ticket to watch it.
Yeah, I guess. But do you really think they would do that? So I guess they would have to look at it from the perspective of they would either have to offset the cost of production, hoping that enough people sign up for AMC Premiere to get their $5 for at least 1 month, to watch the movie and, offset the cost, whatever, and make money somehow. Or they put it on TV with actual commercials where they could sell the advertising for that.
Well, it's one of two things. Either it's a 2-hour movie, no commercials with AMC Premiere, or it is a 4-hour thing with commercials.
You guys see it being broken up though? Like part 1 this week, part 2 next week.
Oh God,
I don't think so. For it, at least the way Gimple sold it now, it can obviously change. And it'd be like, just kidding, we need to monetize this baby, so part 1, part 2. But
they might do that though.
Don't.
Part 1, part 2, part 3, or you could buy it all right now on AMC Premiere.
Buy it all right now. AMCPremiere.com. AMCPremiere.com.
They should hire us. We do this shit for a living.
You hear it, Gimple?
We'll help you market this. Don't worry. All right. So this feedback is actually for last week. This one's from Nicholas. He says, I really enjoyed the episode. I like the way they showed how the characters had evolved in the 6 years without beating us over the head with it. I'm not quite sure how I feel about Gabriel being such a ladies' man this season. But for a show about dead people walking around, that's hardly the least believable thing to happen. Maybe going blind in one eye is the perfect way to get all the ladies? I don't know, Nicholas. You should test that theory.
Don't listen.
Don't. Do not stab yourself in the eye. It's ridiculous that Judith is able to fire a hand cannon without being thrown backwards 10 feet, but whatever. It's a show based loosely on a set of comic books, so that's comic book logic. I get that her voice is a little high pitched, but I don't understand how that's valid criticism of the show. Ooh, sorry, probably pissed you off last week. Have any of you listened to a kid that age talk? Only way around that is to cast a kid way older than the age she's supposed to be. Personally, I think she's doing a pretty solid job for an actress her age. I like the scene with her and Negan. I agree. So rewatching that episode, actually felt way better about the child actress than I did the first time I watched it. She was actually quite endearing, but
you're right, Nicholas. It is an invalid criticism.
Yeah, and I'm the asshole who said that.
Just to be clear, just to be clear.
She was real cute in that scene where she tries to do the sign language, and the lady's like, kind of, and she's like, I'll work on it. And I was like, oh, that is adorable. He says the way they introduced the Whisperers was pretty dope. They're creepy as fuck. Nice to see Carol can still fuck people up. Not exactly a new thing for her, but whatever. I like the new characters. I'm intrigued to learn more about their backgrounds, especially Magna. She seems particularly interesting, and I'd like to know the story of a prisoner who survived the apocalypse. Overall, a solid episode, and I gave it an 8 out of 10. Do you think they're actually going to explore Magna as a prisoner thing, or was that just a plot device they used to sow the seeds of doubt by Michonne?
I'd say plot device. I don't know if it's an area that I don't think they have time to explore it yet.
Yeah, I don't think they do either. And I'm not sure how interesting it would actually be, to be honest with you.
It feels like a late night Walking Dead After Dark version.
Yeah, indeed. Someone was saying they want to see a mini-series about Dog. I was like, I'd watch that. I'm not going to lie.
Like Red Machete, just Dog.
Just Dog. All right, so next up is Jonathan. He says, this was, again, for last week. This is another great episode. Finally get the sense that the writers are finally giving us surprises and leaving things for us to go figure out. They aren't explaining everything. The bridge was still out. We don't need Michonne to, quote, talk to Rick and mention what that implies. As a viewer, you see it, you know it's been 6 years since, and you come to the conclusion that all the communities aren't talking or working together. Also, don't mess with Carol. Stone cold killer. I half expected Daryl to hiss at Carol like a threatened feral cat. Oh, and who cares if Magna did hard time? The guy leading the council meeting locked his entire congregation outside to die while he hoarded food. Just saying. That's a very good point.
We've all done
But
stuff.
I also feel like, yeah, exactly. And that's why it's a little, contradictory to judge people based off their past.
Well,
but,
it's with Gabriel like, hey, we know what kind of monster you are. I don't know what kind of monster you are, though.
True. Well, she probably didn't do anything worse than locking people out
No.
of her congregation, allowing them to die. But, maybe she did. Michonne did say she did hard time, after all. You know what? One other thing. Wasn't Michonne pitched in earlier seasons as being, like, very art savvy, and she was into music and fine artwork and whatever?
She's an attorney. She wasn't and not like a public defender either.
Yeah, well, so I found it kind of outside of the Walking Dead lore based off of all the past shit that we've seen that she didn't care that she destroyed the violin. Because I feel like as someone who appreciates fine art and probably music, that she would have been very distraught over destroying a priceless violin.
Exactly. It's not the character that we've known.
I feel like I don't even know her anymore. Quivering bottom lip. All right, last up is Steven. This is about this week. He says, this was simply a moving the chess pieces into place episode, just full of information and to give answers. I'm okay with that. I'm leery that the mid-season finale will be a snoozer with the short build-up, but we'll see. That's basically all it says. Now we see there are others with the X. This has to be something to do with Rick. I don't know what yet. He says not terrible, 7.006. That's like right what almost we gave. So good job, Steven. I don't think the mid-season finale is going to be a snoozer. I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah.
And I think someone is going to die.
Dun dun.
Because Talking Dead, there's a special guest, not to be announced. And I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering this kind of arc correctly in the comics before the Whisperers are actually like, quote, introduced, there is like this kind of attack scene where some members of our group are stabbed and shit like that. So I think there's going to be some pretty fucked up shit in this episode, and I'm super stoked about it.
This has a very like Night of the Living Dead quality to it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, especially when they like pan in on that like one zombie's face and it's just like looking like all creepy and shit. It's gonna be good. I'm excited. All right, so that is it. Next week the episode's called Evolution. That's a small rescue group braves a dangerous herd in their hunt for a missing comrade, only to discover a surprising threat that could doom them all. So. No, I guess the main focus of this is going to be the Aaron, Daryl, and Jesus and Eugene kind of storyline going on there. But that should be more than enough to fill this episode. So, any thoughts?
The mid-season
Evolution. It's
longer?
I'm not sure. Hopefully not. I don't need like 90-minute things. Like this episode was like 70 minutes. I'm like, why? Like they could have, to me, cut out the stupid dog in the trap scene, and then it would have just been a 60-minute episode, and it would have been perfectly fine. But they can't help themselves sometimes. Squeeze in that extra commercial break. But yeah. No, that's it. It doesn't look like it. It looks like it's just going to be an hour next week. So
yeah, runtime's not published yet, but yeah, too early.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is it. If you guys want to join us on our social media pages, you can go to facebook.com/fandomfound. You can follow us on Twitter @fandomfound. And if you like the podcast and want to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, wherever you want to listen. fandomfound.com/subscribe is where you can go to find the option that works for you. And if you ever want to send feedback into the show, you can do so by emailing twdepodcast@gmail.com. And that is it. Oh, fun announcement that I'll also put at the beginning of this episode. But we're going to do a fun little Christmas Q&A extravaganza podcast. Burr, burr, burr. This is going to be user-submitted questions. Something like, John, what's your favorite Christmas movie? You don't have to answer that now.
Not now. Don't give it away. Save it. Save it for the podcast.
Save it for the podcast. But yeah, this will be like kind of, we're going to be launching a new feed that's more of a general interest feed that talks about a bunch of different things. So one of the fun things we want to release is just kind of like a Christmas themed podcast over the hiatus for The Walking Dead. And what better way than to get Christmas related questions submitted by the actual listeners of the show. So if you want to submit a question for that podcast, you can go to fandomfound.com/Xmas. That's just XMAS. And that'll take you right to a Google form. You just write your question, hit submit, and it comes right to us. You don't even have to send an email. Super easy. But yeah, so that'll be fun, and we will record that over the break. And maybe, just maybe, we will also record the Westworld finale. Just maybe, though. No
just
promise.
Maybe. Literally, no. If we get more than like 10 questions for this, then it's like a 90% certainty we'll record the Westworld finale there.
Oh. Well, I know Johnny, who really enjoys our Westworld podcast and who's been bugging us to finally post the Westworld podcast. He will probably submit 10 questions himself just to get us to record the Westworld finale podcast.
The gauntlet has been laid down. That's the challenge.
All right, 10 questions, so make it happen. All right, so that's all I got for this week. Do you guys have anything you want to talk about?
I'm good. Dennis?
No.
No, nothing really.
No. All right. Well, this week is Thanksgiving, so if you're in the U.S. and you celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. Go eat your turkey. Go eat your stuffing. Give thanks. And we are thankful for you, our listeners, who we enjoy very much, and we like doing this podcast for. Right, guys?
100%.
100%.
That's right.
Cheer.
Yes, indeed. All right, guys. Well, until next time, I'm Sebastian.
I'm John.
And I'm Dennis.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Walking Dead Enthusiast podcast by Fandom Found. See you next time.
Gobble, gobble.